เราจะมาลงลึกเรื่องอาชีพเบียร์ไบเออร์
สวัสดีครับจ้า
In Thailand, we see a lot of the beer culture that people drink it with ice. What is the fact that we shouldn't do? คือตอนนี้เรากำลังจะเทสเบียร์ควิสถ้าใครตอบถูกสามารถที่จะให้ใครกินก็ได้แต่ถ้าตอบผิดกินเองต้องกินแก้วนั้น
I gotta take this one
Wrong. Wrong.
Wrong This one ไม่ผิด
เฮ้ยไม่ใช่เหรอ
สวัสดีครับชอบเบื่อตอนนี้เราอยู่ที่ร้านเดิมอยู่นะ ยังไม่ได้ไปไหนเลย
ที่สัญญาไว้ไงว่าจะพามาเจอคนที่เขาเรียกว่าเบียร์ไบเออร์
อาชีพอะไรอ่ะไม่เห็นรู้จักอยู่เมืองไทยไม่เคยรู้จักมาก่อน
คือตอนนี้เรายังอยู่มหาลัยอยู่นะ
ใช่เลย
ตอนนี้เขาเรียกว่าเป็นแชนเลอร์ละ
ใช่
แชนเลอร์นี่คืออะไรนะเป็นผู้อำนวยการ
เจ้าของโรงเรียน
เจ้าของมหาลัยมีศักดิ์เป็นเจ้าของมหาลัย
แต่เราจะไม่ได้เรียนกับเจ้าของมหาลัยนะ
ไม่
เราจะเรียนกับโปรเฟสเซอร์คืออาจารย์
มาสอนโปรเฟสเซอร์ที่เนทเล่าให้ฟังคือเบียร์ไบเออร์เนี่ยเขาไปต่อคิวซื้อเบียร์แล้วสามารถรีเซลเบียร์ขวดละเป็นหมื่นได้เรื่องจริงไหมต่อมาก็คือเราจะมาลงลึกเรื่องอาชีพเบียร์ไบเออร์ว่าเฮ้ยมันมีรายได้เท่าไหร่แล้วต้องทำยังไงถึงเป็นเบียร์ไบเออร์ได้
แต่วันนี้ยังไม่หมดนะวันนี้เดี๋ยวเราจะมีเกมให้เล่นด้วยคือทายเบียร์ถ้าใครทายผิดกระดกหมดมีอ้วก
แต่ถ้าเราตอบถูกเดี๋ยวแชนเลอร์เขารับผิดชอบที่เราถูก
จริง
รับผิดชอบเองพร้อมหรือยังอยากเจอโปรเฟสเซอร์อยากหรือยังโอเคครับเฮ้ยcome over
วันนี้ครับอาจารย์เดี๋ยวให้อาจารย์ใหญ่แนะนำก่อน
อันนี้เบียร์ไบเออร์หรือ AKA Professor เอกนะครับครับเดี๋ยวปล่อยให้แล้วนะเดี๋ยวตั้งใจเรียนดีๆเดี๋ยวมาเจอกันตอนเวท
ตั้งใจเรียนแล้วครับผม
Alright well let's go over beer so beer is made of 4
we starting
ingredients yes the main ingredient is water
okay
Beer is made up of 90% water. Okay. Second is grains, mostly barley, rice. The third ingredient, yeast. So you think of like bread, for example. They're basically microorganisms that eat the sugars from the grains to create the alcohol. And then fourth, and most important, hops. Hops will give the beer its flavor, profile, bitterness, grassiness, right? So. All of these ingredients together create different beer styles. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about the different beer styles, okay? First you have the light lager.
Light lager.
Yes, very easy to drink. Usually 95% water. As you can see, they're very clear. That's because they're very light in flavor, light in body. Mostly the main flavor you're going to get from them is very little hops. Mostly malt. Okay.
So before we drink, we have to smell the wine.
So the steps that you take when you're tasting the beer. Number one is look at the appearance. So you'll take the beer and you'll look at it. So hold it up, see what it looks like, because there's different appearances in beer. As you can see, this one is kind of cloudy, pale and yellow, whereas this one's very clear, right? So first what you want to do is you want to look at it. Okay. So this one you would describe as clear or brilliant. Okay. Next, you want to smell it. So there's different ways to smell. There's called the drive-by. So there you go by. Right? And that's how you get the aromas from it. Second, I like to take your hand, you cup it. That way you get to smell it without all the other stuff that's going around. Right?
Okay.
So go ahead and take a smell of it. What do you smell?
Smell nothing.
Because it's 95% water.
Right,
so
95%
light beers shouldn't have a lot of smell to them, right? The most thing you'll smell is a little bit of the grains. So like a slight breadiness, like crackers, right? Cool. So number 3, you're going to take a sip of it.
It tastes like water.
Yes, exactly.
So how fast should I drive?
25 miles an hour.
25 miles. Oh.
Beautiful.
ไอ้ตัวนี้ชอบจริง
Very refreshing, right?
Super easy.
Exactly. Not a ton of flavor, but just very easy to drink and refreshing, right? Cool. So next, we'll do the cider.
Cider.
Yes. So cider is different than beer. The fermentable sugar, instead of using the barleys like this, they're using apples, right? Apples or pears. So the sugars that come out of the apples or the pears is what the yeast will consume to create alcohol, right? Whereas in beer, they're consuming the sugars that come out of the grains, right? And that's where you get the alcohol from, okay? What does it taste like?
A little bit bitter, and then sour.
The third one, huh?
Yes, third, Belgian. Yes. So this is a wit beer. Have you ever heard of a beer like Blue Moon before? So that's what this is. So this is a Belgian beer. Belgian beers have a different type of yeast to them. So when you taste this one, you get a little bit of like a kind of like herbal, and then a little almost like banana kind of a flavor to it.
This is the sequence of how to drink beer, like a lot of different kind of beer.
So generally you would want to, if you're tasting different kinds of beers, you want to start with the lightest and end with the darkest. The reason behind that is because of the flavor, right? As you go on, if you start with like something like dark, like a stout, it's very heavy in flavor, right? So it's going to kind of ruin your palate, right? So by the time you really wouldn't want to start your meal with dessert, right? Because then it's going to be sweet and overpowering. So when you go to eat something light like fish or pasta or something like that, you're still tasting the sweetness from the dessert. Same thing with beer tasting. You want to drink the lightest in flavor up to the heaviest in flavor. That way your palate can acclimate to it. Next, we'll move into IPAs. So IPAs are the most popular craft beer style in America. There's two main styles of IPAs. So as you can see, both of these are very different in color visually. So here we have West Coast IPA. West Coast IPAs, as you can see, are very clear, almost like the lager that we had earlier. This one has kind of a red color to it because the malts that they use are slightly darker. So the different types of malts, you can see the Pilsner malt, much lighter in color. As you get darker, we've got more of roasted malts. So generally, as you get darker in color, you're using more malts to it. As it gets more bitter and more flavorful, you're adding more hops to it, okay? So malts refer to the color of a beer, whereas the hops refer to the flavor of the beer, okay? Cool. So go ahead and try this one. So West Coast IPAs are very focused on the hop aspect of it, right? So very grassy, earthy, floral, like pine needles kind of a thing, right?
Because of hop, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the main flavor that you're going for with a West Coast IPA. Next, you have hazy IPAs. These are extremely popular. As you see, they're very like pale, kind of hazy. The reason behind that is because they're much more. The hops are used after the fermentation. So instead of adding the hops in when the beer is boiling, which gives it a bitter kind of grassy character like the West Coast IPA, you use these hops after the boil, which gives it a lot more of the true hop flavor, right? So hops generally have if you ever feel like an actual fresh hop, they kind of look like little weed nuggets almost. So they're very oily. If you smell them, they smell just like citrus. They smell like melon, like stone fruit, like peach and apricot. So that's what the main goal as far as flavor and aroma of a hazy IPA should be, to get that kind of very floral but still juicy. Juicy is the term that you really go for with a hazy IPA.
So how many percent alcohol in regular IPA?
So generally IPAs start at 5. And then single IPAs range up to 7.5. And then generally after 7.9 up to 10%, they're considered double IPAs.
Double?
Yeah,
okay.
So double basically meaning double the amount of alcohol. Triple starts at 10% all the way up to 14%.
What's the story behind the IPA, the India Pale Ale?
So
what is it?
IPA stands for India Pale Ale.
Okay.
So back in the day when there was the colonies, right? The British owned, one of the colonies was India. So they would grow a lot of hops in India.
Okay.
So what they would do is as they would brew the beer and bring it across the ocean back over to Britain, the hops, like any other plant, would lose its flavor. Okay? So in order to increase the life of them, hops are basically a preservative. In order to increase the shelf life of the beer, they added more hops to it. So they would take their pale ale, add double the amount of hops, which made the beer last longer. made the beer taste better, and they didn't know it at the time, but it also made it higher in alcohol. So they add the more hops to it. They get back, they go, well, my beer's still fresh. It tastes better, and for some reason, I feel a lot better when I'm drinking this one than I did about the other ones. That's because it's higher alcohol content. So because they were growing the hops in India, that's where the term India Pale Ale came from. They would take a British Pale Ale, add more hops from India, and that's where the term India Pale Ale comes from. Next, the dark one.
Into the dark side.
Yes, Darth Vader of beers. So you can tell the two different colors in malts, right? Clearly, this beer was made with this, right? So take a little bite of these. Take one out. What does it taste like?
It's like sunflower.
Yeah, it tastes like coffee too, right?
Oh, coffee.
It's bitter, like roasty kind of a flavor, like coffee, right? And that's why when you taste a beer like stout, they generally add more like roasted malts to it, which give it that coffee flavor and obviously the darker flavor. So go ahead and smell that one. Do a drive-by on that.
Yeah, it smells like coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's the same kind of malt?
Yeah, so obviously if you look at them visibly, they're the same shape, right?
Yeah.
So it started off like this, and then they either roast it over fire like they do with coffee beans, or they'll ground them up with like stone or run it through like a food processor to break it apart, so when they start boiling it, the sugars come out of it.
So how many percent alcohol are we drinking in this?
So this one of the things about stouts, right? A lot of people think just because it's darker that it's got higher alcohol content.
Right.
Not true at all. This is only 5% alcohol, where that hazy IPA you just drank is 8.5% alcohol. So that's a big misconception people have. They think that just because it's darker, it's more alcohol. That's not true at all.
So don't do the book by the cover.
Exactly, yeah. However, stouts do generally have, like, a lot of stouts these days, especially popular ones, are like imperial stouts, like for double. Basically what that means is that means higher alcohol. So people will do barrel aging. I think you guys tried one of those the other day. So they'll basically take a imperial stout that's like 12% alcohol. They'll brew the beer, and then they'll take like empty spirit barrels, so whiskey or bourbon or gin or vodka, right? They'll
make a beer.
Exactly. So they'll take those empty barrels that had bourbon in it, and they'll put the beer in there and leave it there for months up to years at a time. So what happens is that beer will start to absorb the flavors of the wood that it was in, absorb the flavors of the whiskey or the bourbon that was in it, and then obviously absorb some of the alcohol content from whatever spirit was in it before, and that's how you end up with like a 13 or 14% stout.
Okay, is that true that any kind of beer is good combination with the food?
Yes, but beer in general is really good with food because of the malts that they use in it, right? But you have to take into consideration what kind of food you're eating and what kind of beer you're pairing it with.
Steak.
Sure. So steak would generally go with something. Steak is very, it's kind of fatty. It's kind of got like a saltiness to it. So generally with things like steak or meats, you would want to do something like an IPA would go really well with, because you get a little bit of that grassiness from the IPA, a little bit of that bitterness, which goes really well with red meat. If you're eating something like seafood, right, like fish or shrimp, that would go really good with something like a wheat ale, like something with citrus character to it, or like a light lager, like the farmers that you tried first, something like that. And then if you're having something super rich like dessert, it would go really well with that, like a stout, right? Like the chocolate coffee kind of a flavor to it would accent the dessert really well. So just take into consideration when you're pairing food with beer, thinking about what the flavor profile of the food is in comparison to what the flavor profile of the beer is.
Is that the last one or what?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead.
All right.
Next one.
So this is a wit beer. So wit is German for wheat. So this is basically a German beer with orange peel in it. So this one you'll taste it's very like more citrus forward, and then it'll have more of like this like cracker bready kind of malt character to it. So this still falls into the light beer style. But it will have more like I said, more of a pronounced kind of Belgian almost. Like I said earlier, a little spiciness to it.
Really light.
Very light. Very light. Yep.
Easy to drink.
Do you get the citrus flavor from it a little bit? Very little bit?
Yeah.
Do you get that flavor of like herbs or spices a little bit?
Because the lager, I didn't smell anything, but I smell a little bit of that.
Because lagers are mostly water.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yep. Just easy to drink. That's something that goes really good with seafood.
Cheers.
Chon.
No, in Thai we call chon.
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 This one is pretty sour.
Yep. Good job.
คือตอนนี้เรากำลังจะเทสเบียร์ควิสนะคือโปรเฟสเซอร์เนี่ยจะมีข้อมูลอยู่แล้วว่าเป็นเบียร์อะไรบ้างแต่ทีนี้เขาจะบอกสรรพคุณเรา
ที่เราเรียนมา
ที่เราเรียนมาเมื่อกี้เขาจะบอกว่าลาเกอร์นะ IPA นะนู่นนี่นั่นแล้วให้เราเลือกหนึ่งในนี้ถ้าใครตอบถูกสามารถที่จะส่งให้เราที่ดูให้ใครกินก็ได้
ให้ใครกินก็ได้ให้ใครกินก็ได้
แต่ถ้าตอบผิดเองต้องกินแก้วนั้นเทสทีละคนไหม
แต่ในเมื่อมันเยอะจัดเพราะฉะนั้นมึงอ่ะโอ๊กมึงอ่ะวางกล้องวางกล้องแล้วมึงก็มาเริ่มจอยดีกว่ามาเริ่มจอยอ่ะ
พอมันแห้ง
เชิญนั่ง Give me the hardest. You want the hardest one?
Yeah.
Hardest is mean most alcohol or the hardest one to guess?
The hardest one to guess.
Okay. Fieldwork Brewing Company, covered in wax. This is a hazy IPA. Okay. So hazy IPAs should be visibly hazy, right? They should have a juicy nose to it and hoppy. Which one is it? You're allowed to pick it up, smell it, and take a sip of it.
Only one? Yeah. I'm back to this one. No. Maybe this one.
Is this your final answer?
This is my final answer.
Okay. Go ahead and take it. You're wrong.
Oh, dang.
You gotta drink the whole thing now.
No, you gotta take the whole thing.
Take the whole thing.
Great.
So this is not hazy.
So what is?
So there's two hazy IPAs on this. You got correct that it was a hazy IPA.
Oh, but different.
Wrong brewery.
Oh.
Okay, let's go.
Thank you.
That was fun.
I'm thirsty, okay? Get it right. Get it
ตอบให้
right.
ถูกหน่อยตอบให้ถูกหน่อย
You're looking for Farmer's Light. Light lager. Very crisp. Like you said, you had this one first from the video, right? Doesn't taste like a lot. Very light.
อันนี้ใส่เดิมอันนี้ก็ไหลครับขอดมมันต้องแบบไม่ค่อยมีกลิ่น
Remember to drive by. Gotta drive by.
No?
This one? No, ใส่เดิม
What the shit?
เฮ้ยบอกได้เลยเหรอ
Need professional.
They're extracted.
This one.
You think it's that one?
I think it's this one.
Is that your final answer?
Light lager, yeah.
That's your final answer?
Your
Yeah.
final answer?
Yes, this is final
Wrong.
answer.
So double IPA. That's Pliny the Elder. The opposite of what you're looking for.
Was it close?
Not at all. That's the opposite.
Now you have to drink it all. Oh,
How do you say chug?
ชนหมดแก้ว
Double IPA.
All right. You're looking for the Lead Dog Cookies and Cream Stout. Stout.
I'm looking for the dark one.
Yep.
Cookie and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Oh, so it's gonna be smell like cookie and cream.
Remember, it's got Oreos. in it.
Oreos.
You got the easy one. Drive by, hey man, drive by. 25.
Shit.
Which one?
It's a stout.
Similar.
ข้างขวา
ไอ้ที่มันไม่ชัดเจนเลยวะ
มัน
Creamy. What creamy?
แคสเตอร์คอแห้งแล้วมึงส่งไปดิ
คาเนี้ยต้องถูก
มึงต้องถูกแล้วนะเว้ย
Okay, this one is gonna be.
No,
Creamy is gonna be darker. I think.
นี่ป่ะ
Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
Wrong. That one.
This one?
Oreo.
Man, oh man. Not Oreo.
You've learned nothing from me.
Not Oreo.
You've been listening to me talk about beer for 2 hours. And you learned nothing. All right. You're looking for the Bear Bottle Cooler Cactus, which is a sour. This one's going to be more tropical, more tart than the other one.
sour
You should be able to smell the sour part.
มึงเป็นความหวัง
นี่
ข
มั
อง
นเฮ
ของ
ซี่
เรา
ไอ้มึงอย่าฝากความหวังไว้ที่กูเยอะดิ
มึงนั่งหน้าห้องอ่ะมึงเด็กเรียนเก่งอ่ะ
รอบเลย I don't smell any sour Okay
Final answer
Final answer?
Final answer
Did I get
Wrong.
the drink?
Can we take a sip like next turn
You can take a sip.
Okay
Oh so make it easy
You
right
guys are allowed to take a small sip. All right. You're looking for the Nitty Cider. This one is orange and raspberry.
Oh, this is easy.
โอ้พี่คิด
เอาไหม
alright
ต่อ
tomorrow
Alright this one
Final answer?
Yep.
You are correct.
alright sir this one vodka
Oh man. All right, finally.
It's 7%. So.
Sean.
ได้หนึ่งแต้มว่ะ
alright
ได้ดื่มสักทีหนึ่ง
finally
First right answer.
There you go
ไปgive me cider one so I'll pick this one please
All right, you're looking for the Society Amber Ale.
L
อันนี้มันไม่มีกลิ่นเลยอ่ะคือแบบจะไปรู้
ซิปได้
ซิปได้เหรอ can I sit
Take a small sip.
โอ้อันนี้มีกลิ่น
แล้วมันกลิ่นอะไรอ่ะ
มันมีกลิ่น
ซินนามอน
เอาอย่าซินนามอนมึงโง่เลย
ไม่รู้
นึกคำนั้นออกคำแรกเลย
What was the name again
It's called the Debutante from Society.
I'll take it this one
Final answer?
yeah final answer
Wrong. You're drinking the Ghost Town Barrel Aged Sour.
oh it's sour
Oh man.
yeah it's sour
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you gotta finish
It's
the whole
also
thing.
10%, so you want to share that. So it's
No
No, can't share.
Yeah no can't
มัน
share
มันโกงแบบนั้นถ้ามันแชร์
Yeah, the rules
ต้องเอา
again
ต้องโดนคนเดียว ความผิดก็ต้องเมาคนเดียว
อ่า
อยากกินเป็นเด็กหลังห้อง no
Mao Young?
เมาอย่าง
อยาก
เมาอย่าง
ไม่เหลือเหรอ
This university is not fit for me
Drop
Yeah,
out?
I'm gonna drop out I'm gonna drop out
Keep getting it wrong, we'll expel you. You're looking for the Revision IPA, single West Coast IPA. So, not crazy hoppy, but it should have like kind of like a grapefruit kind of a nose, citrus zest, but still hoppy.
but not too hot
Yes we are ไอ้ตอนนี้กับตัวเนี่ยเหมือนกัน
มึงเยอะเหมือนจะใช่เหรอ
What is the definition again from this beer like
It's a West Coast IPA, so it's going to be slightly like grassy and piney, a little bit of grapefruit.
นี่คือใช่เหรอไม่ใช่เหรอ
เด็กเกาะบ่อไอ้สัตว์ I gotta take this one.
Sure, you're going to go for it? Final answer?
Yes
Wrong?
Nice IPA.
It's an IPA, you're correct. It's a double IPA.
but different idea
How much alcohol 8.2 or what
8.2.
8.2
Good job.
Okay let's go
All right. Lead Dog Cookies and Cream Stout.
เฮ้ยคุกกี้ครีมนี่เลย Final answer
You're correct.
I get to drink now.
เพื่อนต้องมาว่ะ
เปื่อยเดย์ขอคู่หน่อย
You're looking for Allagash Curio. It's a Belgian triple barrel-aged whiskey barrels.
ตึ๊บเลย
Oh, this one gonna be a lot of alcohol, right?
เดี๋ยวมึง
Damn.
This one
จะบอกนะว่า
Oh, I hit.
เฮ้ยใช่เหรอ
Is it that one? Final answer?
Yeah
Correct.
ตัวนี้มันแรงด้วยอ่ะ What is this 11%?
10.5.
10.5 Come on just 10.5
What's shooting, bro?
มาว่ะ
Come on, yo.
มาแล้วว่ะ
ไปต่อ
Alright.
alright
เดี๋ยวคอไม่แห้งแล้ว เอาผิดได้คอไม่แห้งแล้ว
Revision IPA. West Coast IPA.
West Coast IPA
ยิ้มเหมือน
เพราะว่า West Coast มันจะไม่แบบว่าดาร์กอะ
อะไรได้บ้าง
มันจะไลท์กว่า
มันจะไลท์กว่า West Coast IPA แล้วมันจะไม่มีแบบมันจะไม่ใช่ hazy มันจะไม่ใช่ hazy IPA ที่มันแบบ
แต่มันต้องมีกลิ่น IPA
ใช่อันนี้มันกลิ่น IPA ไง Yeah final answer
You're correct.
Yes Yes Yes
Yes.
เราโดนทุกแก้วเลย
กูตบให้
Yes Number 4 West Coast
ไปบอกว่า
All right. You're looking for the Hemley Cider Butterfly Pea Lemonade.
Oh my god
รู้เลย
อันนี้โคตรอร่อย ลองชิมมา
ดอก
เมื่อ
อัญ
วาน
ชันปะ
ทำจากดอกอัญชัน อร่อย
อร่อย
All right. You're looking for the Fieldwork Covered in Wax Hazy IPA. Hazy Double IPA.
and ต้องบอกนะว่าอิดเนี่ยเป็นแฟนของ IPA ด้วย เพราะฉะนั้นตอบผิดไม่ได้นะเพื่อน
ตอบผิดจะได้กินไง ถ้าตอบถูกก็ไม่ได้กิน ลองคิดดูสิ
เริ่มปวด
แก้วเลยลองทั้งแก้ว
เกิดแล้วฉันเลิก
Final
โอ้ย
answer?
ยังไม่นอน
You're correct.
This game is not good anymore ถังขยะอยู่ไหนเนี่ย โอ้ man
6 แก้วแล้ว
นี่อธิบายดิทำไม
เดี๋ยวเราจะทำให้เกมมันยากขึ้นเพราะมันเหลือ 4 แก้ว โดยการที่จะให้คนไทยหลับตา
We'll start you. One is here.
สิ่งที่ทำได้คุณดม
There, 3, and 4. Okay.
Can we sip
Nope
โอเค
just smell only
just smell only and ดมอย่างเดียวแล้วก็ทาย
Number 1.
อันนี้มันจะยากขึ้นแล้วนะ
For the Society Amber Ale.
Maybe it's easier.
So the smell should be maltier, more bready, kind of like toffee or caramel.
ไม่เห็นเลยยากเลย
ยากจัดเลยอะ
ถ้าผิดนี้ต้องกิน 2 แก้ว
เอ้ย
แก้วที่ผิดกับแก้วที่ถูกโอเคไหม ไม่งั้นเดี๋ยวโดนผีแก้วตายเลย
เดี๋ยวช่วย
Final answer?
Final answer
Wrong. Farmer's
Good.
Light.
อยากกินเหรอ
ไม่เห็นไม่เห็น
โอ้โหอยาก
thank you ขอบคุณมาก
So you're looking for the Bear Bottle Cooler Cactus Sour.
sour โอเค
But you can't taste it, you just smell
Just
it.
smell.
just
Yep.
smell only 'Cause I don't see
เอาจมูกเข้าลงไปทำไมเนี่ย มันแค่ดมเฉยๆ ไม่ได้ดำน้ำเนี่ย
กูเดือดให้เดี๋ยวกูเดือดให้
โอเค and number 3 final answer number 2
You're right.
โอ้ยโดดนิ่งทำไม
โอ้นี่ยังไม่รู้กฎใช่ไหม ถ้าทายถูกได้กินไง รอบนี้ทายถูกได้กิน
ถ้าเป็นผมอะไปเรียนมาหลายมหาลัยแล้ว ไม่เคยจบเลย แต่ถ้าผมจะจบด้วยมหาลัยนี้ผมจะกินแก้วนี้
ใช่เลย
ให้กับอาจารย์
ใช่เลย
ทำไมมึงสั่น
Alright.
โอเค เมายัง
ถามเองนะ
ๆเฮ้ยอันนี้มัน50 มาด้วยกันเลย
ด้วยกันเลย
โอเคเดี๋ยว
Alright,
หลับ
so
ตา
here's what we'll do for this one. Since you can obviously see both of them already, you'll have to tell me what the name, I'm going to tell you the name of the beer
Okay
and the style, and you tell me which one it is. So you're looking for the Society Debutante. Do you remember what style that was?
Which one is
Remember
it
from earlier? I said it 4 times.
That's it. That's all you get.
There's the 2 beers left are the Society Debutante and the Pie of the Tiger.
Oh, which one is it?
ปรึกษากันหน่อยปรึกษา
So have you
Using the lifeline?
No lifeline. มันโกงไม่ได้ใช่ไหม เราตั้งไปเรียนมาเนี่ย ตั้งใจหรือเปล่า
You're right.
ตั้งใจหรือเปล่าเนี่ย
I'm right.
And that means Nate's chugging this one.
เราเจอขึ้นทางเลย
จบครับ
All right, now I've got one more question. Last question for you guys.
Okay.
Mao Yang?
เมาแล้ว
เอาแล้ว
ถามทางบ้านว่าทางบ้านดูอยู่เมายังเดี๋ยวเรามาคุยถึงเรื่องอาชีพของเบียร์ไบเออร์ก่อนว่า
เซอร์จาน
จานของเราเนี่ยเขามาเป็นเบียร์ไบเออร์ได้ยังไงเกี่ยวกับอาชีพนี้
แล้วเขามีกินมีใช้ไหมยังไงประวัติความเป็นมายังไง
ใช่
Okay, how do you start with this career?
So, I used to be in a band. As you can tell, it was a metal band.
Okay. How do your tattoo?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
what's the name of your brand?
The band was called Lifelorms.
Can it's on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Okay, alright.
Because
You still run the band?
No, we broke up.
Broke up?
About 8 years ago.
Okay.
So I decided to try and find a way to make money doing that, right? So I started working at a pizza place, and I worked in the kitchen. And one day, all of the bartenders called out sick, and so the manager needed somebody to work behind the bar. And I'd never worked behind the bar before, but I was the only one that was friendly enough to be out front out of all the people in the kitchen. So I went out there. I didn't even know how to pour a beer. I didn't know how to open a bottle of wine, any of that. But I was friendly, and at least I tried, right? And so I had some customers over there that asked for the manager when they were leaving, and I was like, oh, screwed up. I probably did a bad job, right? So they come over and they go, hey, this is one of the best bartenders you guys ever had. I don't even know what I'm doing. So they started giving me a couple more bartending shifts. And so about that time is when the owner brought in a new brewery called Modern Times, which is in San Diego. And I thought, this is really cool. I've never heard of that brewery before, right? I grew up in Chico, where Sierra Nevada is from. And so I was like, that's weird, I've never heard of this brewery. I didn't know there was so many breweries out there. And so I started to kind of do some research on my own. I would go to like some of the local beer shops and I just go in and buy a random bottle of beer on my days off and try different things. And at that point, like most people, I didn't know a lot about different styles, different alcohol contents. I just kind of thought beer was beer. So I started doing a lot of research on my own about different styles of beer, different flavors, all of that. So basically what I do now is there's in our area here, between all the different University of Beers, we now have 6 locations. So I basically am in charge of monitoring what sells every week, keeping the beers that we always have in stock, and then finding new breweries and new relationships to work on so that we always have the best options in our area, whatever store it is.
Can you tell me like the experience, like the most experience that you find the hidden gems?
Like it's very hard.
Yeah. So right now, I'll give you my personal, probably the rarest brewery, a couple breweries that I know of that I've been able to have, and I'll give you a couple of the coolest ones that I'm able to carry at University of Beer.
Okay.
So one of them, there's a brewery called There Does Not Exist. This brewery is made from 2 of the head brewers that used to work for one of the top-rated breweries called Trillium. Right, so Trillium is in Boston. They've been the number 3 brewery in the world for the last 8 years. And so the amount of beer that's made versus the amount of people that want to buy their beer, there's no level ground on it. So the fact that I know somebody that's worked at that brewery, and I've talked to that person. I was on a waiting list for 5 years, waiting for them to call me and say, hey, you can buy some of my beer now. And so I was sitting at my desk one day and I got an email from them. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? I clicked on it and they said, hey, we're going to be in Sacramento in a week or so. Do you want to buy anything? And I was like, hell yes, I do. Yeah, so that's one of those really cool ones where it's not just beer, it's a story. Right? Everything is, it's got a background to it, the people that were behind it, the ingredients where they're getting them from. Like I said, it's more than just something that you drink to get drunk. That's the best part about it. But the thing with craft beer is that there's so much more to it than just the beer that's in your glass. And so their very first beer that they released when Moxa opened was a collaboration with Bottle Logic. So just like 2 like rappers being on the same song, everybody gets bigger off of hype. Exactly. So that's what happened with the beer. So right off the bat, they were having people lined up down the street some of their bottles will be, you know, say they only make 200 bottles of one of these stouts, right? They sell them probably for $30.
30
25 to 30
bottle.
per bottle. Per bottle.
And how long for a week?
So if they open at 10 o'clock in the morning, there's usually 100 to 150 people there at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have to go before that.
Exactly. So you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go stand in line to buy one beer.
I think about the Supreme coating.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's like.
stuff like
Oh, wait. You can only buy just only one.
Only one. There's a limit on it. You can't just go in there and buy a case because there's only so many. Just like Supreme. So, like you said, you'll wait in line. Say you wake up, get there at 5 in the morning, wait for 5 hours. Takes an hour to get to the front of the line. You get one beer for $40. People will go home and there's websites that are kind of like eBay but for beer.
What is the website?
One of them's called mybeercollectibles.com. And so it's very similar to like eBay.
Okay.
So you can put that. I've seen people put a beer the same day on that website that they bought for $40, asking $1,200.
Alright, so
And it sells for that much.
and they sell it.
And it sells easy.
Alright, tomorrow we're gonna get one, okay?
No way. Sell it.
No, sell it for us.
We're gonna get three.
Do they make it right now?
Well, you guys know new. I'm sure it'll probably hook you guys up for something.
no.
Something that's sold out or unreleased.
Yeah. Okay, we probably.
They can figure it out for you. I'm sure. You can pull some strings for you. Yeah.
Come on, we have connection.
What's the website again?
You know somebody. My Beer Collectible.
Okay, I got it.
ผมวิธีหาเงินมา
We're gonna be rich.
Yeah, we're gonna be rich. Right.
I want to add one more about the price.
Okay, yeah.
What is the highest price that can be sold or be sold?
Have I seen like what the highest ones I've ever seen?
Yeah.
I've seen a stout online that actually sold for I think $10,000.
One bottle.
One bottle. 20 ounces. That's like $800 per sip.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and do they drink it or they collect it?
Yeah.
It's up to the person. I mean, there's a lot of people that just buy rare beer just to say I've had it, you know. But there's people that drink it.
Yeah. Okay.
I kind of personally think that after a certain point of being expensive, is it really worth that much money?
Yeah.
Right.
You have to drink it. Right?
Exactly. There's some people that drink like certain types of whiskeys or wines that are like $500 a glass. Like, are you drinking that and going, oh, that was a $500 sip? That was totally worth it.
Oh. So this thing make a good living.
Yes. Yes. You can make a good living in beer. Absolutely. But the thing is, with any career, you've got to invest a lot of time in learning and growing yourself. And so, you know, some people, like lawyers, they go to school and learn how to do law. Doctors will go to school and learn about the human body. I just went out and drank a lot of beer and learned about
If you are
beer.
like really good in something, like really good, like you love it, you're gonna be like.
You have to put extra effort in and be better than the other people at it. And so I learned from the beginning what I wanted to do and what I needed to do to get to the next level, and I just did. Say, I'm not going to say like my position or what I do for a living would work everywhere, but it's a lot based off of luck, right? Like I've been through 6 different jobs from different levels, and just starting with the company to, you know, proving that I have the knowledge that I have so that the right people notice it. And that's how I got where I am here.
Yeah. Okay, so now we know beer is good. And
You should have known beer is good. Now you know it's even better.
It's so good. And should we drink it every day?
Actually, fun fact: if you have one beer a day is actually really good for your health. The oils that are in the hops and the carbonation and all of that, and the grains are actually really good for your heart.
Okay.
One beer per day.
Yes.
Skip.
Like 1 beer, like 1 liter, or like.
Sure.
Big pint.
I'll let you decide.
I'm gonna go back home and tell my wife.
She
Beer
should.
is good for you.
Yeah, Eric said so.
Okay. Let me take it.
The beer professor said so.
Alright,
Yes.
we have a professor,
We
right?
learn it today.
Learns today.
You have to follow it.
But if she have a problem, I'm gonna let her call you.
Okay, sounds good.
And fix the problem.
Break my phone.
So in Thailand, we see a lot of the beer culture that people drink it with ice. So should we do that or no? What is the fact that should we do?
Sure. So a lot of it is based off of one, like culture, how you've been raised on, right? It's not for me to say that's wrong, right? You do it, it tastes good, right?
Okay.
If it didn't taste good, nobody would do it, right? So obviously it tastes good. It's a lot of what the situation is in that area, right? If that area doesn't have a lot of like big refrigerators and keg rooms to keep all these expensive draft lines and stuff, like these aren't cheap, like this is expensive, right? So, I mean, open a bottle of beer, pour it over ice, it's fine. As far as like the scientific answer to that, it's probably not the best way to drink beer.
Okay.
Because beer is just like any other kind of food. If you get something too cold, you're not tasting the flavor like you would if it was at a higher temperature, right? So like if I were to pour, like most of the beers, the correct way to serve a beer is about 38 degrees, okay? And then you shouldn't be serving it in even like a frozen glass, because what happens is you'll start to get like ice floating in it. It'll get really cold and you won't be able to taste it. However, a lot of that depends on the style of beer too, right?
But you need to drink beer with the real taste of the beer.
Correct.
How it drinks.
Correct. Yes. So, like if you see me when I drink like a stout, I'll have another beer first, like an IPA or a lager or something, and I'll hold the glass of the stout with my hands because my body heat will warm the beer up. So I generally like if I'm opening up like a bottle of like a stout, I'll leave it out so it comes up to room temperature before I drink it. Because if I let you try that same stout really cold and I let you try it at room temperature, you taste a lot more of the flavor of it when it's at room temperature than when it's cold. And so that same rule kind of applies to beer in general.
The temperature is like super matter for beer.
It does.
Okay, we talk about the ice. So let's say about the foam.
Sure.
So you believe that the foam is it a lot? It's not good.
That's the complete opposite. The foam is really good. The experience of the beer.
You need to eat. You need to drink foam.
Well, if you go to Europe, there's a lot of places that have, they call it milka pour, which is basically like half foam, half beer. The reason with why the foam is important is because it adds a whole different layer of flavor to it. So if you were to pour a beer very slowly, so there's no foam on it, and then you were pour beer correctly, industry amount the foam should be about the width of your thumb. So about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So if you put your thumb, the edge of the glass, the foam should be about that much, right?
That's the right amount.
Yes. The reason behind that is the foam contains a lot of the aromatics. It's what you're smelling, right? So when the foam is accurate on it, you're bringing it up to your mouth, you're smelling it before you taste it, so your brain's already starting to build what the flavor is going to be before you taste it, right? If I were to give you a beer and say, this beer tastes like melon, what your brain's naturally going to do is you're going to start to think of the last time you tasted melon, right? So when you get that beer and you go to drink it, your tongue and your brain are already communicating like, let's remember what melon tastes like. Let's remember what melon tastes like. So chances are you're much more likely to taste that in the beer than you would be if there was no foam on it, because you're smelling it first before you're drinking it, right? So a flat beer without any foam on it is going to be less flavorful than a beer with the right amount of foam on it.
You don't have to wait about the foam is gone.
Yeah.
So just drink
It's still beer.
Yeah.
It's still beer. You're not losing any beer.
It's the same shit. Drink it.
Right.
Exactly.
Cool.
Okay, take a quiz.
จับเปื่อยดูไว้ นี่เราถ่ายกันมาทั้งวันเลยนะ มีคลิปที่ลงไปแล้วด้วยที่เป็นร้านแบบ UOB สัมภาษณ์เนสแล้วก็มาอาชีพเบียร์ไบเออร์เราดริ้งกันมาทั้งวันเลยจะบอกว่ามากกว่าคำว่าเบียร์คือคำว่ามิตรภาพมาก
ก็ขอบคุณเน็ตเนาะที่แบบมาแชร์ประสบการณ์กับพวกเราแล้วก็กับชาวเปื่อยทางบ้านที่แบบได้เปิดโลกว่าเฮ้ยที่อเมริกาเว้ยไลฟ์สไตล์เบียร์ this is what it is ใช่ไหมครับผู้ที่อยู่เบื้องหลังทุกอย่างของอาณาจักร UOB ก็คุณเน็ตนะครับที่ให้เรามาได้เปิดประสบการณ์ในการศึกษาเรื่องของเบียร์แล้วก็ได้เมาในวันนี้
เมาอย่างมีความรู้กล้าพูดว่าเมาอย่างมีความรู้
ด้วย
ก็เลยจะเปลี่ยนชื่อ channel แล้วจากเปื่อยเดย์เป็นเมาเดย์เมา every day
แต่ยังไม่จบแค่นี้ครับเนี่ยเรายังไม่ได้จบแค่ร้านเบียร์ต่อไปเราจะไปลงเบียร์ว่ะแต่ไม่ใช่วันนี้แล้วเดี๋ยววันนี้เราต้องนอนแต่เราจะบอกชาวเปื่อยทุกคนว่าเรายังไม่จบเรื่องเบียร์แค่นี้
ตามต่อ
ในเมื่อเราขับมาไกลจาก LA 6 ชั่วโมงเพราะฉะนั้นมันยังไม่จบอ่ะมันต้องไปต่อแล้วเราจะไปถ่ายลงเบียร์ ที่เจ้าของเป็นคนไทยบ็อกซ่าเจอกันครับเจอกันดีกว่า
I just wanna be sincere. I don't got time for this fake shit.
ตอนตรงนี้